It's funny. Tastes funny.
It's fantastic.
Oh, great.
We're awesome. So come to here. Jayo
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Oh, glory, Shri Shri Guru and Shri Shri Gaura. Oh, God.
So this morning reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, so chapter 23, text 12. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayana Namaskar Narayana Maitreya Vacha.
Maitreya Vacha.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Vimanam Kamagam Shaktas.
Vimanam Kamagam Shastas.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Maitreya Vacha.
Maitreya Vacha.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Vimanam Kamagam Shaktas.
Vimanam Kamagam Shastas.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Maitreya Vacha.
Maitreya Vacha.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Vimanam Kamagam Shaktas.
Vimanam Kamagam Shastas.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Maitreya Uvacha.
Maitreya Vacha.
Priyaya Priyamamrichan.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Kardamo Yogamastitaha.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Vimanam Kamagam Chattas.
Vimanam Kamagam Shastas.
Taryeva Vidachikarat.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Maitreya Vacha.
Maitreya Vacha.
Priyaya Priyamamrichan.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Kardamo Yoga Astitaha.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Vimanam Kamagam Shaktas.
Vimanam Kamagam Shastas.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Maitreya Vacha.
Maitreya Vacha.
Priyaya Priyamamrichan.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Kardamo Yogamastitaha.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Vimanam Kamagam Chattas.
Vimanam Kamagam Shastas.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Maitreya Vacha.
Maitreya Vacha.
Priyaya Priyamandvichan.
Priyaya Priyam Andichan.
Kardamo Yogam Astitaha.
Kardamo Yogamasritaha.
Vimanam Kamagam Shastas.
Vimanam Kamagam Shastas.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Taryeva Virachikarat.
Anyone else? Okay. So word for word. Maitreya. The
Maitreya.
great sage Maitreya.
The great sage Maitreya.
Vacha.
Vacha.
Said.
Priyaya.
Priyaya.
Of his beloved wife.
Of his beloved wife.
Priyam.
Priyam.
Pleasure.
The pleasure.
Andichan.
Andichan.
Seeking.
Seeking.
Kardamaha.
Kardamaha.
The sage Kardama.
The sage Kardama.
Yogam.
Yogam.
Yogic power.
Yogic power.
Asritaha.
Asritaha.
Exercise.
Exercise.
Vimanam.
Vimanam.
An airplane.
An airplane.
Kamagam.
Kamagam.
Moving at will.
Moving at will.
Shataha.
Shataha.
Ovidura.
Ovidura.
Tarhi.
Tarhi.
Instantly.
Instantly.
Eva.
Eva.
Quite.
Quite.
Avirachir karat.
Avirachikarat.
Be produced.
He produced.
Translation. Maitreya continued. O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Kardama exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. Please repeat. Maitreya continued.
Maitreya continued.
O Vidura,
O Vidura,
seeking to please his beloved wife,
seeking to please his beloved
the
wife,
sage Kardama
the sage Kardama
exercised his yogic power
exercised his yogic power
and instantly produced an aerial mansion
and instantly produced an aerial mansion
that could travel at his will.
that could travel at his will.
Here, the words yogam asritaha are significant. Astita, excuse me, not asita, astitaha. The sage Kardama was completely perfect in yoga. As a result of real yoga practice, there are 8 kinds of perfection. The yogi can become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, or lighter than the lightest. He can achieve anything he likes, and he can create even a planet. He can establish influence over anyone, etc. In this way, yogic perfection is achieved, and after this, one can achieve the perfection of spiritual life. Thus, it was not very wonderful for Kardama Muni to create a mansion in the air according to his own desire, to fulfill the desire of his beloved wife. He had once created the palace, which is described in the following verses. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivastava Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Maitreya continued, O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Kardama exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. Prabhu says here the words yogam astitaha are significant, and that's exercising his yogic power. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the soul is amazing. What is the word for amazing?
Ascharya.
Yeah, ascharya. Some look at it as amazing, hear of amazing, say, and even after the soul is quite amazing, because do you know all these yogic powers are there in the soul? I mean, if an ant had the yogic powers, you could see a little ant on the floor like levitating, creating an ant planet, and it's all there in the soul, but it's covered. It's covered. So what are the yogis doing? They're not adding anything, they're actually just bringing out some of the qualities of the soul. It's quite amazing. And some people say, it's a bunch of hogwash. These things don't really happen. And what is the name of that book? It's a book written back in the 30s or something. Marici Devori gave it to me. It's this English gentleman, Bennett, I think was a or something. He went to England, he went to India to debunk all of these crazy stories you've been hearing in England about yogis and walking on water and beds of nails and all these different things. It's a big, thick book about this big. And he kept out all of the bogey ones he found, but he wrote about the ones that were real. And there's some pretty amazing stories in there. And not just he found, but I'll give you one example. There's one town, and this yogi could just stop. His heartbeat, every breathing, everything. And he'd call doctors to be there for it. He would just stop. And they're taking his pulse and everything, and then after a while, he'd just wake up and see? And all these mystical tricks about, putting things in one ear and out the other.
Oh, really?
You know that expression, in one ear, out the other, but like a sphere, and then nothing happened. And all these weird, interesting stories about yogis, actually levitating and this and all these different things. Of course, we have Radhath Maharaj's Returning Home book, where he spent time with these different yogis and they would levitate and all kinds of different things. So those mystic perfection, and actually East and West, Sariputta mentions in his in the lectures he gave here on the origins. There might have been one called the Amazing Randy. It was a magician, a mystic, living in London at the time of, just like, what's her name? The Curies, Marie Curie, and her husband. There were some very prominent, even what's his name? Huxley, I think was his name. That was known as Darwin's. Thomas Huxley. Darwin's bulldog, because he was the one who was actually responsible. You know, he gave all these lectures and propagating and so on. But they belonged to this organization on parapsychology. And one of the people they have, I think it was the Mason Randy or something, that was his name, it was one of the people they mentioned. But he could have an accordion and play with one hand like this, the whole thing. And he would sometimes float outside his window right above the street in London. Just float out above everyone who's looking up. Do all these far out tricks. And they documented it all. But Sadhguru made the point is, still people say it never really happened. You can't, it's impossible for things like that to happen. It's impossible for people to have these type of amazing powers. So, and the yogi, eight ashta, the different perfections are there. Smaller than the smallest. Prabhupada tells a story about the one yogi. He walked around naked all the time.
In his belly.
And they kept locking him up, but he would shrink down and just walk out. And he'd be gone. He's like, what happened? Just like, whoop, and just gone. And then he'd pull side, there he is, walking around naked again. So I think they gave up on him. What can you do? So smaller than smaller, greater than the greatest, light and light. And there's one called Kama Rupini. Right? Is that Kama Rupini? You can take any form you like, just like the different demons in Krishna Lila. Powerful demons, they actually had some mystic powers too, and they could actually assume a form. What's one form of one of the demons when they went to Vrindavan? Puja, she made herself look very, very beautiful. So just like a dangerous sword in a jeweled case. What's another one? That's really good. How do you do that? Agasura, right? All of those demons, they're...
Even the donkey demon.
Yeah, they were human-like form, but they adjusted their form like that for a particular reason.
Rock.
Well, he could change, yeah, he did. He changed himself. Appeared as a sannyasi to be captured. So they have these abilities. Sarpanaka also. She made a big mistake. Yeah. So these abilities are there. And of course, different lectures Prabhu was saying, but even modern science, they are able to copycat a lot of these. We can fly in the sky now. Previously, yogis would have to sit on a carpet. Prabhu said that you call a bunch of pigeons. Remember that lecture? There's one way you call a bunch of birds and they fly away with you, like that, or magic carpets, or this and that. And smaller than smallest, and all these different...
And do it to the earth, probably get the subways.
Yeah, the subways, they get into the earth. They're building subways and tunnels and so on. So many of these perfections in a very difficult way are being achieved. So Kardama Muni, by his yogic practice, had developed these. And we hear over and over again that that's the danger of this type of yoga, which is almost impossible for anyone to perform. Now, you hear different stories about a few yogis in India, but in previous times it was quite common that people had these perfections. But one becomes, because it doesn't matter whether one's a yogi, a bhogi, or a rogi. If you have the desire to enjoy in this material world, if you're controlled by your false ego, whatever you have, it'll go to your head. Right? It'll go to your head. That you become very proud and whatever pose. You can be sure there are homeless people and there's a pecking order. Right? I'm a bigger homeless person than you are. I've been on the street longer than you have. You know, my beat up sleeping bag is better than your really beat up sleeping bag or whatever. You know, just there's just like you see people. You know, I don't know if you're really going to see it right across the street. They pull in there every morning. There's a guy with a camper, another guy with an SUV. Every single morning they're collecting cans. They're collecting cans. They stop at 3:45 in the morning. That's when they load all their bags into the camper and drive off right across the street. Every single morning they're doing that. Like that. So they're collecting their cans. There's a competition out there on the streets of SanDiego who can collect the most cans. And whoever has the most cans has the most money and so on. So they're very, very proud of their situation. But that's what they do for a living. They just collect cans somehow or other. So from the insignificant ant, who's very, very proud that he got a bigger piece of sugar than the ant next to him, right, that to Lord Brahma, right? Even we have that story there, the reference in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Lord Brahma went to visit Krishna and Dwarka, and Krishna told the doorman, which Brahma is it? Brahma said, wait, which Brahma? He said, which Brahma? He said, I'm the Brahma with the 4 heads. He said, oh, okay, come on in. And Krishna arranged it that all the Brahmas were there, from all the universes, simultaneously offering obeisances to the Lord. This our Brahma is actually the smallest universe. He was thinking he's very, very important, but then he saw these other Brahmas with huge bodies with actually tens and dozens, hundreds, thousands, even millions of heads. Ego. Like that. But as we read earlier a few months ago, Lord Brahma, his prayer was he was asking Krishna to please protect him from the propensity to become very, very proud, because I can create a universe. That's, can you imagine that?
You can easily go to your head.
It can easily go to your heads. I'll quote you on that one. So what we have to understand from this is what every living entity in this material world, they got something in their heart that turns these gifts from Krishna. What are we going to use them for? Sense gratification is serving the Lord. And what it is, that's really up to your previous karma and so on. But whatever it is, whatever we have, we should use it for Krishna's pleasure, and we won't get into trouble. Now, this whole story that's unfolding, you got Maitreya and Vidura, such great souls, and it's discussing this whole story about Kardama Muni making a nice house for his wife, and it looked like this. And where's this all going? But and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon. But we know that despite all of what happens, when it's all over, Kardama goes right back to his spiritual life. He says, I'm out of here. And he never lost sight of the goal. That's the point. We're all entangled in this material world, and just like, what is that? Was it Priyavrata? Was the one they wanted to take over?
Yes.
They wanted to take over. He was out enjoying himself, just simple living, austerities and so on, but he had to come back and take over the kingdom. He said, I'm not going. And that's it. Leonardo Moody tried to convince him. Lord
Narada Muni was convinced to take sannyas.
Oh,
Brahma had to come.
Brahma had to come. Head of the universe had to come and say, but he said, don't worry, as long as you keep your mind fixed in Krishna consciousness, despite having all of those responsibilities, and you're protecting the citizens, you're protecting Dharma, you'll be okay. Krishna protect you. Just as long as you keep your mind fixed on the goal, right? And that's so much advice is there so many times. As long as you keep your mind on the goal, all these other things, they may be there, but you keep your mind on the goal. One example is given if you're going to go to college and get a degree, right? All these other things are there. You're 4 years at the university, but you keep your mind on the goal. You get through it. You may have to live in the dorm. You have to do this. You have to make some money. All these different things that don't have any connection with, but they do. And you just keep your mind on the goal. So in Krishna consciousness, we have to ekeha kurunandana. Now that verse, ekeha kurunandana. One-pointed intelligence. Otherwise, it's what bahusaka anantascha. I get all. You know that word splayed out?
Oh.
Heard that one before?
No.
Chang, have you heard that? You write that down. Splayed out.
Split up.
You write that down in your book. Splayed out. Bahusaka. Our mind gets distracted by so many things. Then we forget the goal. Forget where we're going. I was just thinking of that the other day. For some reason, as you get older, sometimes you forget things. And when it gets really bad, people just forget. Why? You ever walk into a room and say, even when you're young, you walk into the pajari and say, well, what am I here?
What was my mission?
What was my mission? But when you get really old and get Alzheimer's and dementia, you actually just completely forget it. These people wander off, just like down here by the high school, across from the high school, they have that one place. You know why they have the tall fence there around the complex? Because it's assisted living, people with dementia and Alzheimer's. Because they just walk out, they don't know who they are or where they are, and they just walk away. And you can imagine what's going on in their mind. Who am I? Where's home? I don't know. They have that little tag on them. If you find me, bring me back.
We're going to have some wandering in here when they open up the
Right there.
books on.
Move them in. If they lose them, they'll call the temple. Hey, listen, Ye's over here. He's taking prasada. He's taking prasada. We get them all over here taking prasada. But you forget. Forgetfulness is there. We forget the goal. And be very careful. The whole everything in this material world, on one hand, it can be seen as a distraction. So one has to be very careful. But for the devotee who understands the goal of life, all these distractions can be used in Krishna service. They're no longer distractions because they're used. There's a verse in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagnam, Brahmahutam. Everything is Brahman. In other words, everything is used in the service of the Lord, all the paraphernalia, the devotee, the object, everything is Brahman, like that. And so one has to see like that. That's the vision. And Kardamamuni has that vision. He's a householder. His wife said, we need a better place to live than this palapa here, this shack, like that, right? So he said, okay, I'll get you something. And it says a little bit further on, maybe the next verse, because we're reading ahead, he was amazed at what he did. He said, okay, let's, house. Woo! He was like, what did I do?
God got away from me there.
Yeah. Wow. He was amazed at his own yogic power. So, but all these things are described, and of course we can scale them down. Very rarely you have some, but you have some very wealthy people today. They have mansions all over the world, and sometimes you see these pictures of these mansions that these, what do you call them? Sheiks, right? Oil barons in Saudi Arabia. It's unbelievable, like 600 rooms and 30 bathrooms and 500 cars, and of course they got a harem. They're trying to imitate Krishna. But it's like, wow, what opulence. That, and just there to make sure my wife's happy, my wives are happy. Yeah, so you can imagine the heavenly planets, Indra, all that great opulence, but the lesson we have to learn is that to be very, very careful. And whenever we touch the material energy, what's going to happen? Because you touch the material energy, it has a tendency to become bewildered. That's the bewildering potency of Maya. It's why we touch it. Why do we touch the material energy? We touch it to use it in Krishna service, seeing as it is, we're protected. If not, then it has this bewildering potency. Like that, become bewildered. Like money. What is Prabhupada, we all know, but the purport of Prabhupada says, many, many stalwarts in the line of devotional service have fallen because of money and women. You get in touch with these things, they're very intoxicating. One has to be very careful because they stir up what's in the heart. So if in your heart is service to Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada, unlimited money and so many women disciples and just spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. Right? Prabhupada even said the women are a secret weapon. Right? He sent women around the temple. You know why?
Send women around the temple?
No, if you have women around the temple, that's a good thing. You know why?
Because they attract men.
Yeah, men will come. I'll give you a mundane example. You want a mundane? No, I won't give you a mundane example. Let's keep going. The same kind of principle. I can tell you after class, but the same kind of principle as far as whether you have men or women around. About someone who opened the bar. I'll leave it at that. But the point is, but for an ordinary conditioned soul, you get some money. There's one class Sridhar Maharaj gave. He said, everyone has their breaking point. Everyone has their breaking point. And he's talking about money. It's like an Istagosa. He's saying, it's like Balaram. How much money do you need to bloop? So here's $10. Will you bloop if I give you $10? No. 100? No. How about 100,000? How about, and this is when we're joking, but think about it for a minute. How about if you came across into your life $100 million? How would your life change?
Bill Michael.
Maybe.
Well, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
No, I'm just saying that we all have, there's a certain, just like in pole vaulting, you get the bar. The bar is at a certain level. It is. We should be very careful not to think, no, you could give me millions of dollars and I could be surrounded by beautiful women and just, I'm just so Krishna conscious. Many people said that, they're no longer here. Everyone, there's a bar there for all of us. We have to be very careful because there is a bar, because we're not pure devotees. And Krishna, through the agency of the material energy, at different times will test you a little bit. So be very, very careful. It may not be as dramatic as some Hollywood movie star comes and says, Balaram, I always wanted to marry you. I've been following you on Twitter. I'm like, you're the one for me, Haribo.
Time's already actually.
Hmm?
I'm just kidding.
Or some or other, your mother wins the lottery. Says, Balaram, I won $500 million. I want to give half of it to you. You know,
And
so.
what is he going to say? Give me it all.
But you know, whether it's money or there's something, we all got to be careful because there are that bar's there, and it's not way up there because we're not pure devotees. And like I said, that's very dramatic. To be something as simple as a call from your mother to come home. Your father, you know, something's happened. You know, things happen. You have to go. That just things. I mean, there's a story I tell about Sachinandan Swami. He tells a story about when he was a new bhakta. Of course, he's from Germany, but he was at the manor. And he was really struggling about whether to be a devotee or not. Really struggling because he had left a very, very beautiful girlfriend who was not happy and was trying to get him back. You know, why are you doing this? You know, pure, beautiful in many ways. And then another problem was, in German culture, his grandfather was on his deathbed. And if you go to someone on their deathbed, they ask you to do something, you can't refuse them. So his grandfather was calling him to come to his deathbed. He knew exactly what his grandfather was going to ask him. What was he going to ask him?
Marry this girl?
Yeah, don't be Hare Krishna and marry this girl. And it's his grandfather who he had a lot of affection for. So he's got his mind of his girlfriend, my grandfather's dying, and everyone's wondering, how come you're not visiting your grandfather? You're very close to him, because you know, if I go see him, he's going to ask me to do something I don't want to do, and maybe I should do it, and this was going on and on and on, and he was really teetering on whether to be a devotee or not. Do you know what convinced him to stay? Prabhu was at the manor. And one of his services, he was washing the deity's plates every day, like after the Raj Bhog. And it was very blissful. I haven't been to the manor, but apparently he was in that area where you could see Prabhupada standing every day. Come down, Prabhupada would stand for some time, take darshan on Sri Sri Radha Gokulananda, right? And then, I don't know whether it was Harisari or whoever was Prabhupada's servant, came to him. Came to Bhakta, and told him, Prabhupada said the deities, Radha Gokulananda told him that whoever's washing the plates every day at noon is not doing a good job. They're leaving some bits of prasadam on my bowls and plate.
Wow.
And when he heard that, he realized Prabhupada is talking with Krishna. Because it was him. He wasn't being careful. He was just like spacing out, all worried about what to do. But when that message came, he realized Prabhupada is directly speaking with Krishna, and he just surrendered.
The Prabhupada was talking about the deity plates.
Yeah, the deity, which he was not doing a good job transferring. So go tell the Pujari. Krishna told me that, you know, Prabhupada didn't see the plates. He was just sitting in front of the deities. That was the story he tells. So the point is, you know, we have so many distractions, and be very, 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 very careful. And this is a good story because Karna Muni was very, very. He had these powers that. Can you imagine if you had those powers? Smaller and smaller, lighter and lighter, you can create a planet. And that's very intoxicating. I mean, that's the one thing about the yogi, that you become very, very proud.
Yeah.
Very proud. Very, very proud. And that's all these yogis in India who say they're incarnations and so on, and I can do this and I can do that. You know, some of those stories about the late, not so great, looked like Jimi Hendrix, Sai Baba. He had these powers. That doesn't mean he's God, right? But he had some very power, and he let people worship him as Bhagavan. A big, big following. In fact, one of the last weddings they did, they had a picture, and they wanted to make sure that picture was there. So I did my best to make sure it was kind of out of the way. But I was just thinking, haven't we read all the stuff that came out, about him and this and that? But somehow or other, they're convinced he's Bhagavan. Like that. So it's pretty amazing. So it's 27.
One note about this Sai Baba.
Please.
I don't want to pollute the atmosphere. It's not just that he let them worship his Bhagavan. He claimed to be Krishna. I once got on a site, this was years ago, I got on it, and he was having someone write, creating the site, all pastimes of Krishna, from Bhagavatam, 10th canto, and put his name in there. This was his, he did it. It's not that he let them worship, he was propagating it.
Yeah. I mean, he was very active.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu?
I can fold my hands and respectfully here and give some validity to the statement that we all have a price. But if you couple that with, because the jiva is smaller than Maya, so on our own, there's no question everybody has a price. No question. It's not very much either. In that sense, that's totally valid. But if you take the statements that, Krishna will not put his devotee or give him more than he can handle, if the devotee uses his independence properly, he takes shelter of Guru and Krishna. And you will not, the context of that statement is Maya is not more powerful than Krishna. So anyone who will cling tightly to the instructions and the shelter of Guru and Krishna, there is no price. As Guru set the example, that $1 million back in that day was like what, 20 million now or something like that. There is no price for one who uses his independence properly. And I think that's the main point to drive home. Not that we all have, because it's a little, how would you say? The thing is, it's pessimistic, but the thing is to be very sober. That's the application.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hold tight.
And you
Krishna,
can see,
spiritual master and Krishna.
Ambarish didn't have a price.
Right.
Whatever he got, he's using it. Ambarish Das.
Janaiva's last couple of visits been harping to me that anytime you have some difficulty quoting Bhaktivinoda Thakur, call out loudly the name of your spiritual master. He said, mine will instantly disappear. He says, I guarantee it. And I've had some experience, you get some stupid thought, Prabhupada! And sometimes you're in a circumstance where you can't do it loudly, but it's a fact. It just washes the mind, just like a quick bucket of water or something like that. So
remember those old Sankirtan Man plays? You ever seen those? Most of I know devotees from England used to do that, back with the players. But it would always be some situation, devotee on Sankirtan or this or that, in a difficult situation. You go, oh, Sankirtan Man! This devotee would jump out like a little Superman outfit and quote verses from the Bhagavad Gita, and then everything would be okay. Mind would go away. Sankirtan Man. It's like, like the Sankirtan devotee would be meeting a Mayavadi or something like that, and starting to get defeated. Go, Sankirtan Man, help me! And this devotee would jump out, start quoting all the voices, verses, or different things like that. So, like you said, just call out to Krishna helplessly, and then Krishna will definitely protect us. That's his promise. Yes?
2 points. I've personally experienced, probably many of us have, devotees who have become wealthy make statements like, power. I got so much power now. Some of them fell down or were kicked out for different reasons. We have to be very careful. Lakshmi is can be very dangerous. So we have to be pure to really handle it. So better to be meek and humble, be a brahmachari. And secondly, regarding that, we had a temple president a few years ago in Vrindavan named Devarita Das Brahmachari, a Radhanath Maharaj disciple who was very intelligent, very sober, from a very good family, and from Bombay. And he was offered a very beautiful wife, a very wealthy wife, and instead he took sannyas. He refused the offer. This is just a recent story.
We also have these Raghunath Das Goswami. You read that story. There's a Prabhupada tells a story that They were so wealthy, they'd have a walk up, he could cook one puri, and that was it. And then another walk, in other words, one puri. So wealthy, so much wealth. Yeah. It's like a multi-million billionaire son decides to join the Hare Krishna movement. And he's completely detached. His wife said, "Why don't you chain him up?" He said, "I already gave him a beautiful wife and this and that. If those chains don't work, what are these ordinary chains going to do? Just let him go. Let him go join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu."
One thing we sometimes forget about that pastime when we finally escape is that, and he highly revered, was it Yadanandanacharya?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Diksha Guru.
But he lied to him.
Oh,
Get
wow.
on. Yeah, he lied to him. I'm going to pass through and whatever.
So he said there was one Brahmin who was thinking of giving up his DD service. He
Oh,
said,
yeah,
"I'll go
that
talk
was-
to him.
that
I'll
was-
go talk to him. I'll straighten it out." Yes.
They were so attractive.
So remember with that pastime, also just kind of like trying to understand things from the other perspective? Because it seems like very often we hear like the path of renunciation being glorified and placed above all others. But it seems like there's, or maybe there is, I don't know, I could be wrong if you could speak on it, like the need to also understand the value of sort of the path of enjoying the world as it's
Well, that's coming out in this story,
yeah, like
the
the
Karna
shloka.
Moon.
And it often, like even with Raghunath Das Goswami, he wanted to leave home, and Mahaprabhu said, "Don't become a monkey renunciant.
Yeah.
Enjoy life as it's appropriate." Yatha yogi vishaya bhunja anasaktaman.
Yeah.
So could you maybe speak to that? Because I think it seems like we often, like the scales are tipped in favor of it's like renunciation, like be a brahmachari, be a sannyasi, that's the best life, like that's bliss and pleasure, and like grahastha ashram, it's just like pain and suffering and all that. Could you maybe speak to like the understanding of the balance of those two paths and how we can perceive both in the proper light and not become averse? Also, just like this material energy is so dangerous.
I think it has to do with the individual. You know, what's appropriate. If one's like Prabhu gives the example of the elephant and the alligator in the 8th canto. Wherever you're strongest, that's where you should be. Maybe it's sannyas, maybe it's brahmachari, maybe it's vanapras, maybe it's grihastha. There are people who are strongest in their Krishna consciousness in a grihastha ashram. There are other people that are stronger being a brahmachari. You put them in the wrong ashram, all kinds of problems. So that's there. But it is true, even for grihastha, everyone should understand that renunciation is the way to go, in the sense of renouncing our desire to enjoy in this material world. That's the ultimate goal. So that should temper even our grihastha life. It's not that both paths are just, not that one, but if one should be, individually, if one should be a grihastha, he should be. That's where he's strongest. That's where he should be. That's the overriding principle. You're going to say something?
Well,
That's
yeah,
a whole class.
Yeah, one of the things is to understand this distinction between tyaga and vairagya.
Yeah.
Even within household life, you're meant to cultivate vairagya, detachment. Although the paraphernalia may be there, but you're not ready to just give it all up. But Prabhupada, there's no question that he recommended, if possible, stay brahmachari and avoid all the complications. But as you said, it's not possible. Well, you have the spiritual life of karma, and so okay, you go through that, but it's a temporary concession, okay? And then at a certain point, you cultivate. That's what the vanaprastha is. You gradually cultivate the detachment, and then the tyaga is actually to be there at a certain point where you actually separate yourself from it. But you're older and fire aren't burning so much. That's the other thing. But vairagya is there in every ashram. The detachment. Even while the senses are moving amongst their objects, raga vishya muktestu vishayana right in the second chapter. That's the standard. Vairagya vidinja bhakti yoga. There's no question that Lord Chaitanya came to preach that. So your answer is of course correct. But in other words, it's a strategy and how to manage the whole fire of material desire, which is sometimes very powerful. But the goal is Krishna. Well, how to get from here to there? Okay, then not to be in this situation, that situation. But gradually to come to the point of renunciation.
And it is true, and people may bring that up, we'll end with this, that the history of ISKCON, better or for worse, in many, many places there's been an overemphasis on brahmacharya and sannyasi life, or the deep dark well of household life, to an extent where many immature, I would say.